light. That's when I start feeling like a hit man. My man, then I toss the dynamite. Silent night, there's no light. That's when I start feeling like a hit man. Oh my man, then I toss the dynamite. Silent night, there's no light.
Oh, Chanka.
Yeah. Man, back once again for another live here, Friday, 8:30. We're always coming in at 8:30 on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. I had a series that I wanted to get into that I have not been able to get into because we have had all of the riot issues going on, issues of immigration. Um, I mean, you got Iran that just went at Israel went at Iran rather, and now they're in a conflict. So there's a lot going on. When y'all come in, y'all got to hit that like button. What's up, Red? What's going on with you? Shout out to Red Lipstick. Always happy to have you follow through and show some love. But with so much going on, we are going to be addressing some politics right now. I think it's very important that we address a lot of the politics that we have going on in the world right now. So we bring in the panel discussion tonight. Waiting on Miss T. Miss T gonna come through. We got Grizzly in the house. You know, he on the road, so y'all bear with him, but he gonna be chiming in on this you know what I'm saying, on this discussion with us. Hey, I want to say this. I was talking about this earlier this week, and I really want to get the panel involved on this because I feel like right now Black people are doing what I want to see online, which is coming together as one. I see that. I see a lot of Black people starting to come together for the most part as one, and really see themselves as a group, as putting an identity to who they are. But then I see a large group of our people kind of falling into the same old trap of, we're all one with other groups of people that don't really like us. And I think politically, we are seeing a disconnect from what's actually happening, what's actually going on, compared to what people are thinking is going on in their minds. Now, I will say this. I do think that overall, Black people get it. I think overall, Black people are starting to get it. So in terms of how other groups, even though they refer to themselves as, people of color, whatever the case may be, or they've tried to identify with their struggle, all of them have had some sort of negative commentary on Black life. You there, Grizz? Can you hear me? I don't know if he can hear me, but I'm gonna keep cooking. He gonna.
Yeah. If I get too loud, just cut me out. Just mute my mic. But I'm gonna cut my camera on. I'm at a crazy angle. I done had a long day, bro, sweating and driving, but I'm here. But if I get too loud, just mute my camera, my mic.
All right. Okay.
Is it loud now? Can you hear me?
It's a little loud, but
all right. Hello?
Yeah.
I think when it comes to our people, bro, I think we too. I just think that, man. I know y'all get tired of me blaming the liberal people on everything, but it's just that we are the world type shit that always get you involved in some shit. We talking about California. We in Texas, California has a real racist undertone, especially when it comes with Black men and Mexican men, whether it be in the streets or in jail, especially. A lot of them brothers will tell you that the Mexican side with the whites, they go against the Blacks in prison. You feel me? It's stuff on the streets. It's a very direct line. I was talking to you earlier when I told you everybody draws a line when it comes to Black people. Black people don't draw a line when it comes to nobody. And I think that's what it goes to show. I think black people always looking for some sort of social fight, bro. Like it's always a social fight. It can't just be something going on. It's like, oh, the Mexicans fighting the white man. We gotta jump in. Like, bro, sit down. You're not together enough to even fight your fight correctly. I'm seeing dudes I ain't never hear talk about standing up, organizing together for black people, talking about they fight. They want to go broke. Like, bro, sit down. Like, sit down. Like, we don't get it. Like, we just simply don't get it, bro. And sometimes sometimes I'm a little shocked, and sometimes I'm just like, why am I shocked, bro? Like, we don't get it. The last administration allowed something to happen that shouldn't have happened, bro. This man told you he was about to reverse that, which, I mean, that's what needs to happen. You know what I'm saying? It's simple. A lot of Mexican people I know not even talking about this shit in a way that I know black people talking about it because they know. They know. Like, it's simple, bro. I don't even see what the pushback is about. As a black person, why would you even involve yourself? You got too many veins to run, bro. Bro, you got too many ones. We got too many squabbles as is for you to be jumping in and out of somebody else's life. It's crazy, bro.
You know, it's funny that you say that. I just think that before this all this even really popped off, I said that I think the left mindset, the liberal mindset for many of our people is showing now because we have been sold that there's this collective struggle. And so when other people are going through things, we feel like we should be a part of their struggle because we've been the loud siren of the world for struggles. I mean, the entire Black experience in America has been the foundation for all progressive civil rights laws and legislation. I mean, that's just what it is. So that's been exploited. But it's hard for us to see that because we've been told, oh, we're in the same boat as other people. And it's like, no, you're not in the same boat as other people because at the end of the day, you don't even have a cultural identity, or at least you didn't have a cultural identity. You were running away from your slave identity, but now you have to use it to give you, to have proof of your access to citizenship. You see what I'm saying? So that's important for us to note. Now we can actually do that, whereas in the past we hadn't been able to. You know, I don't listen, man. Nothing against the Hebrew Israelites, because I do believe that to a large degree, many brothers have found that organization to be a benefit to them, to give them an install to be a better man. I understand that. But one of my bros, a Hebrew Israelite, and we were debating about this whole entire situation. And I mean, he was going hard like he was Mexican. And it's like, dude, I understand y'all ideology. Y'all believe they one of the lost tribes. All right. But when we talk about America, how we're running things, you can do that here in America. That's an American ideal. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's something that happens here in America. It's not that may not even be a worldwide, international recognized thing, and maybe it is to some degree, but I don't think we need to have any group or organization like that of that magnitude be in opposition of Black progression. And Black progression doesn't mean racism or prejudice. It doesn't, because typically we aren't. We actually deal with all groups of people. This is about understanding what the culture needs, because look at everything we lacking. We lack so much. I got blocked. I wish man, you know what? I wish I could pull this up, and I probably could. I didn't prepare for tonight, but I should have, because I was gonna show everybody out there. I mean, Amanda Seals blocked me. Amanda Seals blocks any comments of sensibility and and anything that's reasonable, to create this echo chamber for herself of a bunch of people just saying a bunch of what she wants them to say. That's ridiculous.
I think that's the way of the world with that particular group. It's like when you see someone on TikTok and they say something God awful, and you say something and it's like 1,000 comments, a lot of comments saying the same thing. It's like when you on Facebook and you're having a certain discussion and everybody comes with such emotion and such passion and really they just be sounding so whiny. Is this that liberal voice? It's not shocking somebody like her. She, boy, I don't want to kick her while she down. I don't know if she's down or not, but every time you hear her, she's speaking. Every time you see her, so I'm not shocked. And what you said was not disrespectful in the least. I see what you said. It was light. It was really light. So my thing about that is like, why would she block you? They just don't want to hear any truth. They just want to hear. It's like a group chat, like a yes man group chat with them. You know what I'm saying? But like you said, their liberal standpoint that got, it's like want to take on everybody fight. But my thing is, let me ask you a question though, Drew. Let me ask you a question. I asked you this earlier, but let me ask you this in front of everybody. Why aren't the LGBTQ community being pressed to go fight with the Mexicans? Why is it the trans community? Why is it the Palestinians? Why is it the Jewish people? Why is it the Asians who recently got a hate bill passed for them? Why aren't any of them being pressed to fight with Mexican people? I can't hear you.
This a lot of why we see this mass request for Black folks to be involved is because all struggle in America, for the most part, that has had any real progressive legislation, let's just say within the last 100 or so years, a couple 100 years, has been because of Black struggle. And that's just what it is. So if anybody can associate what they're going through to somebody Black, or Black people can stand up and say, we think this is right, it will be utilized as an oppressive situation. It's not the same in reverse, because we collectively know, why people get certain benefits that they get. Americans know. Most Americans know that. That's why Ann Coulter had no problem saying yes. And even Republicans widely believe this, no matter how much you think they're racist, that, hey, we only owe Black people. We only owe them because we enslaved them, we made them work, we redlined, we did all this horrible shit to them. So they're the ones technically that we need to be giving anything to. Everybody else is not who we made a promise. We didn't promise anything else to anyone else. So when you look at the LGBTQ, or you look at a lot of these, I'm just gonna be honest, white middle class influenced, activism, without any type of Black involvement, they don't work. So just look at the LGBTQ when it comes to Black women. Who's the loudest for that? You got Simone Biles up. Now, Simone Biles, why would she even be up there? And even, you know what I'm saying? Why would she even say what she said? Why would she even get up there and be like, hey, in any type of defense of the trans community? Why would you do that? How is that protection for Black women? How is that at all? But like I said again, she's a loud voice for that. I think for all minority groups and people of color, just pay attention to how it goes. Pay attention to what's happening. Like, those Black women voices are loud. Now, Black women did say, when all this went down, they said, we tried to tell y'all, we tried to warn y'all. That's what they said. And they said they was going to sit this one out. And Black men said, yeah, y'all said y'all was going to sit this one out. Sit this one out. We want y'all to sit it out. And in fact, we're all sitting it out so we can take a look at what's really happening. But that's the reason why they don't call on anybody else, because there's really once the root of the movement says, nah, we don't want no parts in that, then it's not really validated. Somebody, again, so the same Hebrew Israelite, my homeboy, he is saying basically he's relating it to like Mexican as an ethnicity. Don't be against that ethnicity because the white man is racist. Okay, the white man may be racist, um, but this is not about ethnicity. This is about nationalism. That's why I made that post today. I put that post up where I was talking about when you don't have racism, what do you replace it with? You have to put nationalism in, because if you don't have a discretionary tool on who's American, you're going to run into an issue like this with a group of people talking about how they used to have this. It's like, no, that's actually not how it works. And this could be an international disaster when you do that. Like nobody's thinking. I mean, and now you got this Iran and Israel thing kicking off. That's crazy. Like this Israel, Iran, that.
Yeah, I think just to piggyback off what you were saying, I think Simone Biles coming out. It's just one of those things that you mother just want to fight. Like, why? Now, if that white girl would have came back out and said something about your appearance, because after you called her a man, then we would have seen so much uproar about that. That wasn't cool. You feel what I'm saying? And our people just out here fighting random fights. I think now the fast forward to you talking about Iran and Israel, it's certain phase that's happening that is going to be inevitable. You feel me? It's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? No matter who in office, I didn't think Trump could have slowed it down at a point, but clearly he can't. You feel me? Just like when Ukraine dumped all that stuff on Russia, like you can't stop the phase, bro. Some of that shit is gonna run, and that shit got implications over here. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's important for him to get ahead of that of the protests in LA right now before somebody use that to start something different on U.S. soil. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I don't think people really have a real clear, concise understanding of what's actually happening here. And I think this is why we have to really define who American people are. It's just what it is, because this could turn into, I mean, I'm just being honest. Where are all these TikTok videos of Chinese people coming from having some commentary on America? I know you've seen it, either it's uh, you know, a deportation issue, or they coming at America how they're bad they're treating people because they realize we're people of feelings and emotions and shit like that. And it's like y'all don't understand that these people could totally be loyal to their country. Y'all don't see that. Y'all don't see how loyal this group of people could be to their country. So why I don't like anti-American talk. It can be exploited, and it can become a very dangerous thing for all of us. We have to understand that. Like, why do y'all think, why is it widely believed amongst people who are complaining over here that another country is going to treat you immensely better? I don't, a lot of these nations, like our own, have struggled over time of regulating its laws, legislation, and not being corrupted. We've held up the best. The Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, the way we have democracy set up here in this country, we have held up the best. Everyone else, not so much. They've changed a lot because, when you have a tyrant ran, a totalitarian government, dictatorship, whatever the case may be, those governments don't do well. They usually collapse. They have revolutions, all of that. We don't have that going on right now. But the one issue that I really think is odd is how we have this super influenced, manipulated perception that we're going to have it. Because we've been talking about this civil war in the country for quite some time. Everybody, and you know what? Two things could be true. It could totally be, that could totally be happening right now. But I'm just going to go ahead and make a speculation that this is totally being manipulated geopolitically. It's just what it is. This is totally being manipulated. Man, if you just coming in, y'all hit that like button. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. When you hit the like button, um, that just lets YouTube know we're here, you know, because the algorithms don't like these conversations. So when y'all come in, y'all hit that like button. Here to hit the subscribe button and the share button. Throw 50K in the chat. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't think people really understand how dangerous this really is. So I think we need to have more conversations like this. We need to be able to wake people up. Miss T on the way. Come on, Miss T. But yeah, man, I mean, uh Miss T brought up something very good. And I probably should, I'm gonna talk more about it, expound more on it when she gets here. But we need to have a certain type of programming. We need to have a one directional programming where we are really educating the public. We really out here talking a certain talk to our people, especially, so we don't get fooled, man. So we don't get caught up in this foolery out here. We gotta.
And the truth of the matter is, I got called a coon and a mega earlier because I said what was happening to be had. Somebody literally called me a coon and a mega for not capable for another race. I think, I know I ain't what you saying, but I think we got to understand some of our people have bought into it too much, bro. They bought into it too much. These the people that's why they pro-black. They bought into it too much, bro. It's hard for me to see us getting on one accord with these people, bro. It's hard, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. I be looking like, bro, how could I ever fight next to this person or deal with this person when their entire thinking process is not of a black person? Yet, anytime you disagree with this really super democratic left-wing shit, they think you a coon, and you looking like, bro, you supporting a party that literally every fucking thing that comes with them is detrimental to your race, you and your race. So, man, it's hard for me to see it, bro. I don't know.
I mean, nah, you you absolutely correct. This is what I want to know. Um, are the issues that black people are facing, is that not an urgency? Is it not a sense of urgency to allow is it not a sense, Miss T on here? Is it not a sense? I finally can see the comments because I wasn't able. That's why we went. I'm breaking script right now to just say that if you and by the way, if anybody just tuning in, y'all go ahead hit that like button. Go ahead hit that share button. YouTube don't want us talking like this for some reason. They don't like the truth talking, so we got to build from the ground up. Y'all go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Um, but no, I could finally like see the comments and post the comments up there. See, you can see like whatever's coming through on YouTube, so we can make sure we're talking to the people. I could even put it on Facebook too, but I was like, we're just gonna kick it on YouTube tonight. So went ahead and went StreamYard. But anyways, getting back to the conversation, you coming in at a great time. The Democratic Party does not feel like there's a sense of urgency when it comes to black issues. It's a sense of urgency for other minority groups that are considered minority groups or subjugated groups of people. They have a sense of urgency to do things for them because that's who they really want to represent. What people do not understand is this. Just because it's charitable doesn't mean it's less racist. Just because something is just because they're giving away something doesn't mean that it's less racist, that it doesn't have some type of benefit for the white representation in whatever group that is to come out on top. And when you look at something like the DEI, when you look at the things that the left has really supported, it has definitely been more of a benefit to other groups of people more than black people. Black people really, since the Democratic Party stepped on stage and began the social programs for welfare mothers and all of that, since they've stepped on, we've kind of in some way haven't grown much as a group past that. We've done better. We have done better. It's not an excuse. I'm just saying, but the collective, or I should say, it has definitely been a prevention of us growing even further. So this is to Courtney saying, hey, um, you know, why are everybody so super left, or these left ideologies, because they hadn't really done anything for our people. They've been roadblocks in some way, and that's true, because they played on our hearts in terms of talking about what's racist and racism this and racism. See, the way the left exploits the struggle is to say, hey, that's racist, because black people were saying, hey, that's racist. Because guess what? It was fucking racist. It was racist to tell somebody that they couldn't take their black self into an establishment. That was totally racist. But what others saw is that that could be exploited for legislation. So what happens? Other groups get involved. Hey, don't treat us bad, white man. Don't treat it. That's racist. Even somebody gay, I can be. It's just like you're being black. There's no way on God's green earth you being gay and black is the same thing. How do we buy into that? How do we even fucking buy into you're black and I'm gay? Like what? Like we have allowed them to classify black as a disability. If you really think about it, it's a complex. It's like, oh, you're black. It's like being when they talk about the groups that they help is black, disabled, gay, women. Like what? We don't even see psychologically how subjugated black is. So other groups take advantage of that. Other groups take a heavy advantage of that and try to get, some benefit from that. But I was saying, Miss T, tonight, what we're really talking about is the impact of what Trump is doing. We're talking about, essentially what's happening now with the riots, immigration. This is a setup because Miss T suggested, as it kind of been on my mind too, that we're going to kick a series off, because a lot of the things that we're talking about tonight, we're going to be putting within that series as it pertains to the black community. This is the perfect time for us to illustrate and talk about the struggle, the progression, the good, the bad, where we've been in 2025 you know, from between the Emancipation Proclamation to now. I think we have a pretty good scope of what we're dealing with when we're talking about the foundation of Black American. So we're going to get into the family. We're going to talk about the family. We're going to use some case studies from TV to really show you, why this is so important. But going to the basics right now, understanding what's racist, what's not, what's oppression. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna land it, and I'm gonna let you come in, Miss T. Here's the truth that nobody wants to admit. In America, it's either black or white. That's what it's always been. How close are you to white? How close are you to black? That's the spectrum. If you think, yes, it's multi-ethnic, but when we think about American culture, what it's based off of is based off of black and white people for the most part, with a bunch of Native American names. I mean, I'm just yeah, in terms of cities and stuff, because I mean, we know the imprint of other people that have been here, but for the most part, when you look at America, America is essentially just, is American culture is based off what's black and white. What do you think about that, Miss T?
Um, I do agree. Um, I think that the cultural, the well, I think that the racial divide has always been between black and white. I mean, that has always been the narrative that has been played. I think as a group of people, we have failed to utilize legislation to its extreme point, and so others are able to capitalize on that because we as a people have failed to do so. And even though I feel like we've come somewhat of a mighty long way, not too long, but I think that in the course of since the civil rights movement up until now, I think that we've advanced, but I do believe that we've become stagnant. And I think that we've become stagnant due to a lot of extraneous factors like music, social programming, different ideologies that are being put out. And so what looked like was growth, now it's like things are either being departmentalized or it's just being shattered. And so and I've said this before, I feel like us as African Americans, we are the people who were wandering in the wilderness in the Bible. And it's almost as if like certain generations are going to have to die out in order for us to, I guess, grow together and rise again, which is disappointing because I feel like we have what we need in this country to be successful. I feel like we know what racism is, we know what it looks like, it's in many forms. Um, but we just as a people cannot unite together long enough or strong enough to be able to rise above those dividing lines of racial tensions, to me.
I think that we have to start with identifying the who. I think we have to identify the who, and I think we're in order for us to separate our mentality from what's real and what's fake. I'm talking about this in the struggle wise. Um, so black people understanding the black Americans making a connection to slavery is important right now. So if you're a black American, what makes you a black American? Hold on. We got you know he gonna come through. He
It's
gonna
halftime, man.
he,
Hey, man. Hey, bro. My bad neighbors on no shows is stuff a legend, man. When I say I ain't gonna show, bro, you know I'm gonna be there.
yeah, man. He just come through. But no, I think right now it's important for um us to recognize who black people are, because if we understand who black people are, then we will begin to understand what black people have been collectively saying online. I feel collectively been saying online in terms of what they deem to be racist or prejudice from other groups. And so it's also funny to me that if someone trans, if somebody, an immigrant, if they have a complaint, then there needs to be this. We have to like run to the aid of it immediately, Versus when black people are speaking, men and women, when black men and black women are speaking, it's black fatigue, which I understand black fatigue, but at the end of the day, it's like, okay, it's black fatigue when y'all are complaining. Not everyone else. It's like we're not supposed to be fatigued at their issue. We're not supposed to be fatigued towards immigration because we're fatigued with that shit too. At the end of the day, like, hey, we watched entire neighborhoods be morphed because of immigration. We've watched, jobs be redistributed because of immigration. So, I mean, we can have some fatigue on that too. But I think it's a start for black people is to get to a place to where we can say, this is what makes us black American. This is our culture. I was I was talking about the Amanda Seals blocking. The thing about Amanda Seals is even though her father is black American, her mother is from Grenada. So there's still some connectivity to what she says is immigration. But when I was growing up, I was telling Miss T this the other day, we grew up celebrating Juneteenth. We grew up talking about black shit. Our families are from here. So everything that we associate with being an American is based off of this, not an immigrant becoming legal. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't have no real identity with that. But I think once we get an identity to who we are, that's the start, and then we can see how we can have some unity. Because right now, the collective has said they're not going to be a part of this march. I'm seeing blue, red. If you voted for Trump, didn't vote for Trump, black man, red pill, non-red pill, black. I'm seeing a wide range of people. That's really what I meant the other day, Rob. I'm seeing a wide range of people agreeing on something, and I've typically haven't seen it. I'm landing.
You went back to clubhouse days. I land my plane. Hey, nah, but I feel like as I looked at it, it definitely seems like the majority is kind of more so on the whole, let's sit this out, or let's, let more, information kind of come out about it. So, you know, I mean, I think that's a pretty good decision. I mean, the thing I don't understand is that, like, this is the strangest thing to me is that, like, and I wondered this, like, when the poll results came back, like, I don't have the exact number in front of me. I could look it up. A super large percentage of Mexicans voted for Trump. And I never understood that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wait a minute. Like, that's what made the least amount of sense to me from this past election is that, like, wait a minute, y'all, you're voting for the guy that is telling you up front, that, what he's standing on. So that was really strange to me. But, like Kermit the Frog say, man, that ain't my business, man.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think we're also making a poor decision, mistake, however you want to label it, by thinking that most Latinos are illegal. And I think that's a part of white supremacy too, to group an entire, to pretty much stereotype an entire group, even though there may be representation of that in there. I think there are more Latino citizens, Latino American, than we're actually saying. They knew that was going to happen too. Which is like black folks. We be trying to move away from niggas. We like, I don't want to be, hey, them niggas gonna start acting up. They're gonna be partying all night. I don't want to be around that. Why don't we think that they feel the same? They left their country for a reason. They have a country. See, here's what I want to throw out there too. Hey, let's stop this racist shit with Mexicans. That's not happening. That's not what's happening here. Do you experience some type of racism from white folks? Yes, we all have. And none other than niggas that try to warn y'all, hey, you're not white, but you know what y'all think? Because y'all closer to whiteness, y'all take it on, and y'all sometimes treat us like how they treat us, But the issue is not that you're Mexican, and it's not that you're even doing that in terms of being in your own communities, because there is some sort of segregation that happens in the United States. The issue with that is when you're bringing your nationality to it. Okay, this used to saying shit like this used to be Mexico. Saying shit like that, like almost implying some sort of takeover. That is bad language to the federal government. All you people out here on this, oh, the federal government shouldn't be doing this. It's like, well, first off, you can do what he's doing. I just want to get this. I want to let you know this. You can talk due process all day. If these people were illegal here, they can do this. And the federal government definitely needs to get a lid on this. Because what happens is that can be exploited. That can be exploited by foreign nations. I think it's already being exploited. I think there's a whole bunch of people over here that we don't know who it is. I think it's terrorist cells here. When you say that the cartel's a terrorist group, the terrorist cells are here. You classified them as such. So this is a much larger issue and incident, and people need to wake up to that. This could be very dangerous. So you saying, oh, this is Mexico and shit like that. And if you were born in Mexico, you're an American now. You should be claiming America. So you want black people. Where the fuck we finna go? We finna go to Ghana? Y'all niggas want us to go to Ghana? Or South Africa? Deal with them bozos. Hey, listen. You go to another country, them African motherfuckers gonna be on what they on with everybody else. They mismanage money. They scam. They do a lot of shit. One thing gotta get to that white man. Two things he do. He document things well, and he sets up systems. It's just what it is. He has documentation that he enslaved you. Strong documentation. But he know how to set some shit up so the show can go on. It's just what it is, man.
But I mean, that's not really a white thing. I mean, there's no country in the world that allows undocumented immigrants to just come to their nation. So I don't, I think we get a white man too much credit, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Like this one of those situations where it's like the video the last TikTok I put out, it was like kind of like same policy, different president. This really is not that foreign from like what Obama, felt, what Clinton felt, what Hillary Clinton said she would do if she was elected. Now they wouldn't have probably done it in such a, brask or some may consider grotesque manner. The genius of Obama is like his ability to make something sound like, to make anything sound eloquent. But like the actual act of dealing with, what I'm saying, undocumented immigrants, this is kind of par for the course for this is what virtually every president, with the exception of Biden, over the past 20 years has said has been an issue. So it's like, with Trump, a lot of times, I mean, I got a theory, which I mean, this is really probably very unpopular, but I got a theory that Trump is Obama and Obama is Trump. Like it basically that because like Trump actually says all of the harsh things, but when you look at the action, Trump is a pacifist. Trump has never really went to war. Right now, the things going on between Iran and Israel, you can argue Trump has handled masterfully. If Trump, you know what I'm saying, because we could be in World War III next week if we don't, you know what I'm saying, if we don't handle diplomacy a certain type of way. Obama says things in a very eloquent way, right? It's very, but at the end of the day, Obama killed more people with drones than every president combined. Obama deported more people than every president of the 20th century combined. So it's like, do you want a guy to dress it up nice or do you want to just look at the results? The problem with Trump is Trump can be so brash and so off-putting that people take that and they don't look at the results. So say Trump cut this, that, and the other. When you look at the results, well, no, that actually hasn't happened. Now you can say in the big bill, there are cuts coming to Medicaid, but then when you look at it, the cuts are coming to people who are undocumented, people who don't show any work history, people who don't, so it's like but Trump, just a lot of people are more turned off by the aesthetic of Trump than necessarily the end result, because literally I can show you a video. You just go on my TikTok, you can see Hillary saying the same exact thing. We need to get him out of here. We're gonna send him out and we're gonna give him a stiff fine. That's Hillary's literal, to paraphrase, but that's pretty literal as to what she said. Bill Clinton said something pretty similar to that. We're losing jobs, we're losing all this to undocumented. So everybody, the Democratic presidents have had a disdain for undocumented immigrants, just as like with the same, if not more, vengeance than Trump. Now, would they have done it the same way? Maybe not. You know what I'm saying? But are we talking about taste or are we talking about principle?
I mean, you got some, Miss T?
Miss T and that mute button got a real war going on right now. Man, them two don't get along.
Hey,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah.
Man. I'm gonna see if we can do something else. Hold on, real quick. Um, hold on. Oh, she had to come back.
I accidentally hit the mic and I don't know, something had happened.
Okay.
I
I'm
told you they
sorry.
had war. They had war. Miss T and that mic button at war.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me fix this so I don't make the same mistake. I don't know. I was trying to hit it and it just, I don't know. It did something weird.
All right, we back. We waiting on you to drop something heavy now. We waiting on the payoff now.
Oh my
Come
God,
with it.
you're funny. Um, no, I do think that there's some uh understanding of what you said. And we talk about this a lot. Sometimes the delivery or the approach is done in such a way to where you miss the message, and I think that's the issue now. I think that everybody's missing the message because of how things are being handled, or how he's handling it. But essentially, this has not been an issue just when Trump became president. This has always been a lingering topic of discussion and debate throughout numerous terms in presidencies in the United States. And I think that now it has just gotten to a point to where Donald Trump is kind of like, to me, he's executing like the cleanup guy. So let's take a you know how sometimes like in schools they may have a principal or a particular leader that has a good way of coming in and cleaning up regardless of how people feel, and they know that they can stick them in there and execute and clean things up. I feel like that's his marker. And so now he has been elected a second time, and so now it's just like the line is being drawn in the sand, and by any means necessary he's willing to do what he said he's going to do. It just doesn't look nice. It doesn't look pristine. It doesn't look demure. You know, it looks very chaotic. It looks very barbaric. But at the end of the day, you can't. And I've also said this. You can't go to a lot of places. Well, there are some places that you can go in the world and you can live, you can work, you can pay taxes, and you'll never be a citizen, you know. But you can't go somewhere illegally other than the United States and expect to get the same benefits and rights as those who are natural born citizens in that particular country. You can't find that anywhere else, and I just think that now it has gotten out of control, and it has gotten out of control because of the disdain for the African American. And I feel like I said once before, we've had the Civil Rights Act, we did not capitalize on it. And so, because of the disdain for us, instead of uplifting us, it's okay, well, we're going to allow everyone else to come in and ride the same coattail. And so now have gotten out of order. And now it's time to clean things up. And it's just a mess right now. It's like the storm is going to have to pass before there's any silver lining that you can see right now at this point.
I gotta give you a little pushback. We didn't capitalize on the Civil Rights Act. I mean, it was a voter rights bill. It was, maybe we didn't have our eye on the target, but I can't really attach civil rights to what's going on. You know what I'm saying? As far as these mass deportations, I think we gotta put a little respect on the ancestor's name. In my opinion.
No, I know that. I'm just saying that I feel like our fight through civil rights has been the loophole for everyone else, and I feel like we have not used it. Everybody, listen. Do you know people can come here from other countries and build entire neighborhoods, grocery stores, little mini strip centers? We're unable to do that. What I'm saying is they have been able to come over and capitalize on where we are falling short, and
See
that
that
continues.
part gets a little tricky to me. We say unable. Now I do think it's kind of like it's like if I move to LA, right? If I move to LA, I'm not gonna be a gang member. I'm not gonna be I'm not gonna be a blood, a cuz, whatever. I'm gonna be just I'm gonna just be a regular civilian. So, but for me to look at somebody from LA and be like, man, wait, why do y'all gang bang? When I wasn't raised, I didn't grow up in the same situation that they grew up in. I didn't walk to the bus stop and have people pressure me. So for me to look down on them as why y'all gang bang when I moved there as a grown adult, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of how I feel like. See, the beauty of being a foreigner is they don't have anything to unlearn. The thing about the black American is we have a lot of unlearning to do. See, and the reason why there's such a disdain for helping us from, what I'm saying, like, the dominant, basically the dominant society or whatever, is because we're part of their shameful past. It's almost like, how a girl like changed her identity or whatever. She might have been like kind of, slutty in one city. She moves to a new place and she disassociates herself with people who knew her as something before she was an abstinent church going girl, whatever. We're a part of
Mhm.
America's shameful past. So it's like it's harder to deal with us than anybody else because we require America to admit something no one else requires them to admit, even the African. The African doesn't require America to admit, but we have to. There's a certain shame attached to our being, and I think that makes it a little tricky too. I had a really good talk when I was doing Gentleman's History Hour. I had a really good talk with the guy, the director of African American Studies at U of H. He explained that brilliantly. Dr. Horn, and he's written about this extensively. But I think that's what comes up when it comes to Black America and how we're treated in comparison to everybody else. Even the Mexican. The Mexican. Hey, the Mexican, we beat you fair and square in a war. You know what I'm saying? We won. You know what I'm saying? Remember the Alamo. So even though, they might have taken something, they took it under the confines of war. You know what I'm saying? Which there's no shame in that, right? But with us, there's a shameful past that we resonate with, and I think that causes a lot of issues. But I think really one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best things we could do is just declare loss. We just wave our white flag. We lost. Y'all got us. You know what I'm saying? It's y'all shit. Y'all, you know what I'm saying? Hey, you caught us slipping. We wasn't armed. We didn't, you know what I'm saying? We weren't thinking ahead. You caught us, you know what I'm saying? We fell for the okey doke. You won. Then that's what Dr. Neely Fuller says that we should do, which I agree with 100%. Not that we should walk around and identify as losers, but I think the sooner we come to acceptance of like, hey, we essentially are prisoners of war. You know what I'm saying? Like if we just want to kind of like look at it in the most, I think, kind of accurate way. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, this is the land that we lost essentially. And now we have to, you know what I'm saying? Now we have to get our get back. A lot of people don't know. White folks were slaves for 300 years.
Well,
The Barbatory pirates, North Africa, 300 years before we were slaves. They were slaves. They don't identify as that. They got that, you know what I'm saying? They regrouped. So you
well,
know.
I'm gonna say exclusively when we talking about American history, you actually said something really powerful when you said a shameful past. I believe that. I believe that that's the issue. I don't think we're prisoners of war. We became commodities. They didn't look at us like prisoners of war because what were they trying to invade? They invaded here, but they didn't take us from a country and invade it, so to speak. They actually took us somewhere to help them build it up and, essentially form the land. And that's what they did. I also agree that we should have this surrender, so to speak. And this is what I mean by this. And I know black folk not gonna like this, but assimilating to society, not necessarily their culture, ethnic culture, but the society of America, which yes was white designed. Like we have to say, yes, it ain't no racism no more. Well, why it ain't no racism no more? Because you can walk into Applebee's and not get your ass beat. What they're saying when they say that there's no racism, they can't physically whoop your ass and lynch you and not have to worry about not getting caught because the laws it prevents them from doing that. You know what I'm saying? Or not prevent them, it forbids them from doing like that. That's how they look at it. It is not their responsibility. They feel it's not their responsibility to study, investigate, and see what happened to the actual black American. They don't have any, what they feel as though y'all should have walked off them plantations and into, you know, a life of freedom just like we had, but we know that that's not true. So it's up for us to understand that. It's up for us to identify. That's what they don't. That's the part where we feel like, well, it's racist. We're confusing what racism is versus prejudice or just somebody not really caring about that part. Because, like he said, it's their shameful past, and quite frankly, the truth is, many of the white people you see now, whether they people was involved or not, it ain't like they really largely benefited from it. There's only a small group of people that largely benefited from America, slaves and, even to some degree, Jim Crow. Even though collectively, yes, white people have overall have benefited. They have benefited for sure. But there's a smaller portion of them class wise that are just propelled into this, infinite success we feel. That's my personal opinion. But this is I'm gonna, pass the mic at this point. I don't want to say land here
Yeah,
because
I can't say that. I can't agree with that wholeheartedly because if you look at like the Homestead Act collectively gave away. I mean, I think some 200 million acres of land. All you had to do was live on the land and farm it. Like that's what Martin Luther King is talking about in the last Martin Luther King interview when he talks about the white man supported his peasant class with land. Not only did he give him land, but he gave him grants to till the land. Not only did he give him grants to till the land, but he gave him educational. That's what he's literally talking about. So I can't say that only a few people. I mean, because it's debatable, but I mean, there's a large percentage of wealth that you can trace back to that. I mean, free land was given out in the Homestead Act. So I can't say, and I can't say racism doesn't exist, but at the end of the day, you know, it's like Crips and Bloods, right? A Crip will never complain about a Blood doing what Bloods do. Like, I think the sooner we get to acceptance, right? They not down with our set. They have a different agenda than us. Their agenda isn't to assist us. So it's like you got a segment of black people that feel like we've been, man, we've been unfairly, disenfranchised through redlining, et cetera, et cetera. And what I'm saying, we're owed this. That's fair. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, if we haven't got it, are we gonna wait forever to get what we owed? Or are we gonna move, or are we gonna just accept that? Hey, we got to find a way to exist in a land that has racism, in a land where we starting behind, in a land where and I think, in my opinion, I think acceptance of things as they are is the only strategy that gives us power back. Because the minute we accept things the way we are, now we have a circle of influence. We know that, okay, this what it is. Now under these confines, let's work. Every time we do something, the white man tear it down. Well, hey, have them tear it down again. Let's see how many. Let's see if they can. What gets tired? Who gets tired first? They get tired of tearing it down, or we get tired of rebuild. Like, to me, that's a better strategy than people get mad at, like, the Booker T. Washington idea of, like, lift yourself by your bootstraps. Or even King said, you telling a bootless man to lift himself by his bootstraps. I don't think we're bootless anymore. Now, I don't think we have, necessarily what everybody else does, but I don't think we lack anything to, mount from where we're at and accept. But, that would require a level of collectivism and a level of, humility and acceptance that it seems like we're just not willing to engage in. We, and I understand, I mean, because we have been wronged, but, like, to move forward, it requires to kind of, like, just accept that we got to move forward as is, in my opinion, man. But a lot of people feel differently, and that's where we kind of stuck at.
I know. I feel like we've accepted the fact that there's racism. I think we've accepted the fact of how we've been treated. I think we've accepted the fact of how we look right now. What we have not done is unify. I think that's the bigger issue. I mean, because you can talk to a collective group of black people, and I doubt that any of them would say, unless they just haven't experienced it yet. But someone in our age group, or maybe, I don't know, 10 to 15 years younger, we know what racism looks like. Like, I want to say we should be immune to it at this particular point. And if we are, the problem is unity. There's still division. So I fit, but and and this is what makes other ethnicities or other nationalities stronger, because they have a form of unity.
But again, those other nationalities, in my opinion, they moved to LA as adults. They didn't grow up. It's easier to not bang when you didn't grow up in it. See, an immigrant don't have an uncle that died in the Vietnam War. An immigrant don't have anybody in their family who, crack has impacted. An immigrant don't have, some of the things that the Moynihan report brought up in the single house. So they don't have to unlearn what we have to like. Part of I think the biggest task of a black person is not to learn, it's to unlearn. If you got to be a master unlearner, to really, in my opinion, thrive as a black American. I don't think an African, a Nigerian, they don't have to unlearn. They don't have anything to unlearn. It's they're here to work. Period. You know what I'm saying? Like, a Mexican, they may have to unlearn cultural things within, what I'm saying, just their own ethnicity, because Mexicans are very racist too. Like, if you look at how do Mexicans treat dark skinned natives? They treat dark skinned natives very, very harmful in comparison to more fair skin. So, and I'm not gonna say in and of itself they're racist, but Mexico deals with racism as well. So, like, we have a lot of unlearning to do, and that's what I think is going back to the shameful past thing. That's what I think is so different about us. See, everything that the work that's been done on us, we haven't been physically abused exclusively. Our abuse has really been more so mentally. Everybody else, okay, we overworked the Asian on the railroad, but we never told the Asian he wasn't Asian. We never told the Asian, you know what I'm saying? We never changed the Asian's identity. We might underpay the Mexican, but we never told the Mexican he's not Mexican. We never told the Mexican the woman is stronger than the man. We never buck broke Mexicans. You know what I'm saying? So it's a little bit of a different situation that's unique to us, which is why I really feel like we shouldn't be like. It's not that I don't care about other people, but I think our situation is so unique. We should really almost be viewed in exclusively almost.
No, I do agree in some form. We have a lot to unlearn, but what we know as of today, as of who we are and our identity, has come from Western culture. It's kind of like, I feel like we're the kids that's the out of wedlock kids. You know, it's like we're here. I gotta kind of take care of you just enough, but I'm not gonna treat you the same way I would the children that I had in wedlock. Does that make sense? And so it's like that's where we are right now. So it's going to take unity on top of the unlearning to even figure out who we are as an individual, because we know who we are based on what we've been told we are. People that come from other countries, they don't have to come over here and for us to tell them who they are. They know who they are when they come here. And they bring that with them. We can't bring nothing nowhere because we got it from Western civilization. Like, where are we gonna bring? Where we gonna leave and go to? We have nowhere to go.
But it's okay for us to finally identify with that. That doesn't make us a weak version of people. We can say
No,
that.
no.
See, one of the core problems, I think, before we can have any type of identity, and I want to say this too, before we can, before I've always said this, before we can support any other subjugated group or anybody that feels that they're subjugated, we have to first know who we are, and we don't. And by not knowing that as a collective, that can be
Hmm.
very problematic and be exploited. So we have to know, well, who are we? And see, we've been shamed. You're not just a slave. No, you're that's but as it pertains to the country, that's what the fuck you came from. Like, how did you get here? Yeah, like, we have a very big identity crisis in America. Not that I don't want to have the indigenous argument. We can talk about black folks being indigenous. Anthropology, want to get into that, great, but that's not what we need to be doing right now. Black folk being considering themselves some of these religious groups, I'm identifying with that. Okay, well, that's awesome, but as it pertains to who we are in this country and why that matters, we need to actually understand who we are, because guess what, many of us have family with hundreds of years of lineage here. You belong here. A lot of the legislation. Let's make this very clear. All legislation that came through for anybody that wasn't white is because of the Negro. That's just what it is. All of the legislation that came from that's benefiting the non-white came from the Negro. So from the onset of the country, it's because of you. So stop thinking that your Egypt past and these other passes and shit, and what was going on in the Congo is significantly who you are. No, what you are, what makes you significant is coming out of chattel slavery and getting us here. That's what makes you, that's valuable. Like, why don't we see that as value? We look at it like, oh, I don't want to be a slave. No, but the story is actually very impressive.
But
And
I don't see that, man, because I say one. I mean, first off, you look at the history of the Negro farmer. You look at the fact that there was more white sharecroppers than black sharecroppers. You look at the fact that now that they've updated the numbers, now that the numbers have went from millions came here on slave trade to now the most accurate numbers have come out is at most 92,000. So it's not true that the primary identity that a lot of blacks have accepted is slavery. Most people, I challenge people to look up their records. One thing I think Dane Calloway can be like, he has an end game that he wants everything to end as, but at the same time, when you read his book and you go out to his thing, it is a struggle for most black people to actually find slaves. In a lot of black people, should I say, to find slaves in their ancestry. I got pictures of my grandfather in the middle of the Civil War in front of his business that he owns. There is an identity you can make an argument, okay, whether it was Native Americans or whether it was, just black people who were already here, but before colonizers got here. But yeah, there are black people that actually have been here, that have thrived, that have owned land, that have done these things before slavery, during slavery, and after slavery. So I think only the blacks want to identify with slavery. I think we should forget about slavery. I don't think we should remember. I think we should forget. I think we should get amnesia to slavery, in
No,
my
No,
opinion.
I disagree. Slavery is our lineage.
that's the link.
Um, I, that's our lineage. Our culture isn't coming from our lineage. That's the issue. Our culture is coming from white civilization. That's where it's coming from. Listen, either A, we are a descendant of a slave, a descendant of a Native American. If you really, I mean, to be honest, that's where I think the two lines are going to cross. And if you go back as far as you can, you'll see that. But then you also have to understand too that you can go back so far and then the records get a little wonky. You may not have accurate records because remember, we weren't reading and writing. So we weren't keeping the records. Okay. So just because there's an absence on written documentation, that doesn't erase where our lineage is tied from. It is tied from that. We're the descendants of that, which is why we are Americans. And it go it's hindsight all right back over again. We can't forget that. Because to
Yeah,
be honest with you, that is a part, that's what, to be honest with you, that's what keeps our stronghold, is the fact
I mean,
that
but
we
there was
were.
like, but just going off of, without even getting into deep, what I'm saying, theories, whatever. There was literally a whole half of the country where slavery didn't exist. So like, there was
It
a
had to be big enough to go to the Civil War over. I mean, that's great. That's great
yeah.
that we're
So
getting a lot of
so
Mm-hmm.
finish
so
this.
I mean, and really, Civil War was, there's a lot of things that the Civil War is over, outside of just slavery. But
I
at
know.
the end of the day, it did help, ultimately it lead to emancipation. But the Civil War is about a lot of things. But the main one being that, like, economically, there was just an unfair advantage of the fact that if these people had free labor necessarily, and we don't, and there was a certain just disagreeing views on that. All black people are not descendants of slaves. It's just not true. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you can't find any records that can
Okay,
disprove that.
let's say that all black people aren't descendants of slaves. White folks said that most niggas were slaves. And guess what? They wrote it in the Constitution that slavery would end and that those people would become American citizens. I think it's dangerous when black people don't attach themselves to that, because it's saying that you have this asset here. It belongs to you too. We gotta yes, all black people weren't slaves. But even if they weren't slaves, there's plenty of stories of people getting lynched, getting their land took. Black people walked into Jim Crow. So if slavery didn't get your ass, Jim Crow got you. It's about you being here long enough that you are saying, hey, you are an heir to something like the United States of America. That's why I don't buy into the Pan-African shit. That's why I don't do the whole diaspora. Let's all, no. Now, we may all be melanated. We may be black. But at the end of the day, you cannot tell me that slavery was not as big as we think when it's mentioned in the Constitution. There's legislation behind it, and slavery is not just about them having the financial advantage. It's also about trying to make these slaves count as people so they can have more power in legislation. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was sort of like the immigrant situation right now. You're taking advantage of cheap labor, and you're trying to manipulate it also into legislative power. The only difference is you're doing that with a group of people that have a culture. Black people don't have a culture. Black people's only culture is white man culture. So they don't got to worry about us revolting. They have to worry about another group that has an attachment to another nation. That's what this is about. It's not about race. I keep trying to tell people that shit. But as far as
Mm-hmm.
black people, it's
Mm-hmm.
when we start picking up, well, we was here in 1498. We're talking about what happened in America. Now we know this: if everybody wasn't slaves, when Jim Crow popped up, your black ass had to go where black people went. So you are
Yeah, but Jim Crow don't have nothing to do with the fact of whether and the thing, the Constitution doesn't talk about freeing slaves. The Constitution talks about the worth of blacks. You can't help with somebody how somebody views blacks, and you can
what you
even
mean
argue.
it said about it talks about abolishing slavery.
I'm saying, but we're talking about blacks, right? We're talking about like you saying 3/5. It doesn't say a slave is 3/5 of a man. It says a black person is 3/5 of a man. So the 3/5 thing is really you can argue that's really more about Congress and political votes. It's more so about the fact that slaves don't count in your census to get you more congressmen. Like the reality is, it's just like to say that there's only one exclusive. There's only like the fact that the sharecropper was white first. Like the fact that we're just gonna ignore the fact that hey, there was any black people that were doing anything of merit or value when we have documented that the Negro farmer was one of the biggest
Yeah,
landowners of the country.
there's
Well, I
no
mean, these things really happen. I'm not talking about theory or what I feel. I'm talking about what really happened. Now, we want to say how we feel. That's a different conversation. I'm just talking about my allegiance to the truth. You know what I'm saying? So
we
I'm
talking
talking about facts.
this is what I'm saying. You're not wrong. We're talking, this is all truth. But we do know slavery existed.
Mm-hmm.
We do know that they're talking about that in the Constitution. I would argue that they're saying that about black people because those are the people that's slaves. That's giving them a reason to say we can enslave these people when we want to. So I think all this language, I don't think we devalue ourselves by linking to that. Was everybody a slave? Well, has everybody done their history? Does everybody know who came from where? Maybe we should do that. But most of us that identify with, most of us Johnsons, Jones, Washingtons, Williams, people with like American last names, where the fuck did you get that from? How did you get that name?
They
If your
chose that name.
your black ass name Washington, who gave you that name?
It's more black Washingtons than white Washingtons, but blacks chose their names after slavery. Blacks had a chance to go and re-register. Now, why every black person last name isn't Freeman, I will never understand. But that's another myth that we don't. Our names didn't come from slave after the Civil War.
They're
Every
English
black had a chance to go and register and choose whatever name that they wanted.
based off
Now,
Do you
Saxon.
think they had the money to do that?
it didn't cost anything, to my knowledge, But the reason why you have research this, the reason why you have so many Johnsons, Jacksons, Washingtons, the whole nine, is just because when it was time to go and register names, either people was just picking a name that sounded bigger. You know what I'm saying? If today, right now, we said, hey, everyone's gonna go and choose their name. A lot of people probably gonna be Carters. You're gonna have a lot of Obamas. You're gonna have a lot of Trumps. At the end of the day, if we just started from scratch, but no, black people chose their names after the Civil War. I mean, that's just literally what happened.
So
So you
these
don't
black
have.
farmers and all these people, what happened to the wealth? Where did it go?
I mean, hey, a lot of it probably was mismanaged. A lot of it was swindled. Now, with the white sharecropper did swindle a lot of Negro farmers out of their land. So I mean, yeah, there has been a swindling of a lot of black wealth, but I'm not gonna sit here and just
Well,
acknowledge that every black
there,
person is a slave.
there was a level of oppression over black people, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna deny that happened, but say it was all attached to slavery. No, I mean, you look at the 8 mystic years, Reconstruction. You look in 8 years, Fisk Howard was started, 1,300 congressmen, over 1,000 senators. Hume Rebels, the first elected senator in the late 1800s in Mississippi. No, it's just not. It's just not the case that it was just a bunch of we shall overcome since blacks been here. Now granted, that was only 8 years. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna sit up here and act like the Reconstruction was 100 years of a land flowing of milk and honey. But uh, I don't know. To me personally, I just think it's more to, I think blacks are Americans. I think that's the best description. You know what I'm
What,
saying?
but what we have to do is we have to identify how so.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is, and if we don't talk about this in a very explanatory way, then we kind of lose context. So there's this idea that we are immigrants. Like, no, we're not. We're not immigrants because at the country's development, and especially the critical parts of its development and identity, we were installed as citizens, birthright citizens, because much like everybody else that would be born after the Anglo-Saxon or wherever else was here, they were going to be made citizens. And let me say this too, that does include brown people. This is where a lot of people disagree with me, but again, it's ignorant to think that all Mexicans, all brown Latino people, or whatever, whoever was here. Texas was a territory. It was a republic too before it became a part of the union. There were Tejanos here. There were Latino people here. So
Mm-hmm.
we got to also think too, as America is developing and becoming the country that it is. There are many people here that are citizens. They're not necessarily Mexican nationals. They may have Mexican ethnicity, but they're not Mexican nationals. That's important to understand. Look, I put up a clip today. It's on Facebook, and I said months ago before this even began, because I knew that this was gonna pop the way it's popping. I said that once you get rid of racism, you have to replace it with something. Because if you don't give it an identity, if you do not give America an identity, you're gonna be here. You're gonna be where you are now. So once you get rid of racism, you have to install nationalism. And here in this country, nationalism it's very diverse looking, because you got Black Americans, you have white Americans, you have Asian Americans, you have Latino Americans. That's what it is. And we saw in this voting cycle that the American population tends to vote excluding racism as a big deal, because we know that this can be a very racist place. I mean, for the most part, we live in a segregated society. We have not
Mm-hmm.
intermingled. Now, there are places where there's intermingling happening, but at the end of the day, you have to have nationalism. So, understanding what this issue is, that in my humble opinion, many may not like it. This is not about racism. This is about citizenship. This is about allegiance to a country, to a place. That's just what it is. But going back to Black people, because I think this is important, this discussion shows that we're still trying to find our identity. I think that we take issue
Mm-hmm.
with the slavery issue because it has an oppressive attachment. Listen, knowing where you came from ain't bad. Where are you going? Where are you going? Where is the collective going? So at the end of the day, no, we don't like what happened in slavery. But like he said, it's really it is the mental issue we have with it, because it's a lot of its identity of how we see ourselves: ugly, big nose, big lips, like the way we were caricatures and shit like that. It's the perception of Blackness that really makes us kind of, it's just like our darker skinned women, they're made to feel like they're uglier, like they're not as pretty. The closer you get to whiteness or light skin is more attractive. You got that kind of shit going on. When you think about Black men, the perception is that they, are ghetto, loud, lazy, things of that nature, even though we do have some groups of them. It's that the entire collective is that way. When we look at whiteness, or people that are closer to whiteness, we say to ourselves that that's more likable, that's more pleasant. You know what I'm saying? So we're talking about a real mental oppression when we're dealing with Black people. And this is what Blacks from other communities don't really understand, because if you're from the Caribbean, if you're from some other place that it had a more of a homogenous group, homogenous culture, that already had some, establishment, had establishment before any type of oppression or slavery, they don't
Mm-hmm.
themselves with those insecurities the way we do. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's such a big deal in our community. The weaves and shit. Women wear because they want their hair to be straight. And we don't understand what that's about. Got your hair got to be straight. What else? All sorts of things that we, the lashes, all the shit that I think we do to ourselves has a lot to do with insecurity. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to be too passionate against Rob with that. I just think it's important that we understand that that's woven into constitution and legislation, the history, that part of your history that you had, and Jim Crow. It's all there. So your Black Americans, yeah, they're differentiating themselves. I'm gonna say this too: we don't want to see nobody be oppressed because we know what it feels like. We don't want to see Mexican people be oppressed. In Houston and Texas, we have, I feel, a good relationship. Now, some people feel as though they've had racist encounters with Mexican people, but I would argue that that's not the same as white oppression. That is, that is copycatting copycatting white insults because they really can't oppress us the way white oppression was. They can't oppress us like that. Um, but they can lock us out of things, which a lot of people feel that as though they do. Other communities,
Mm-hmm.
but this is what we have to understand is that they know they were all they don't mind setting up businesses and dealing with each other because they have to do that in a place anyway, even when they go to a place. That doesn't mean they all like each other, and that doesn't mean that they don't have their issues with some type of racism either. But for the most part, they can work with each other in ways that we hadn't, because guess what? We haven't found a way to collectively bond and say this is our culture. So that's why I say yes, it's okay to say that it's slavery. It's okay to take. What is your If you're considering yourself a Black American, or you're a Black American, how? So connecting to that lineage is really going to help, to me, for us to say, okay, well, how should we be moving from here on out? That's why I personally think right now what Black people have to do at this point is not be a part of any type of movement. We need to be looking at everything and saying, what are we going to do to heal what we got going on?
Mm-hmm.
I'm passing it.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Like I said, that is what slavery is, what we are tied to. And because we are tied to that, that's where our legislation comes from. And that's why we've been able to progress to however heights we've been able to progress to. And if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be where we are right now. Like this, I want to say I remember telling you this. I said I feel like the climax of racism for us is over with. I do not honestly believe that it's going to ever get back to that. Now, again, there's always loopholes. I can gentrify areas to where you can't afford to live there. I can do things like that. Or I can make things higher to where you can't afford things. Okay, they can do things like that. But collectively, even with the removal of I heard you mention DEI earlier, even with the removal of all of that, we can still rise above that. It is still written in legislation that we still do have rights and privileges as being Americans. We just know, and see, that's the comes with the acceptance. We just know that we're going to have to come together and we're going to have to work harder. And I know this goes into the next series, into the series, but the best way for us to do that is for us to solidify marriages and stay together and raise our families. And it's going to always go back to that. And if there's one thing that other cultures have identified before coming over here, is the importance of the family unit. Period.
And that's the part right there, like the understanding that we got a crisis, we got a family crisis, like we have things that the only way we're going to build is that we fix that, and that's how you render better people that can go out and into society and be productive. And
Mm-hmm.
understand that that's what it is. um we have the identity crisis first. That's so solving the identity crisis, understanding what happened to this group of people who have
Mm-hmm.
you, how you progressed out of it, and then look at other communities and see how they're progressively doing better and why. And we need to get in and do the same thing. That's why
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of what the some of these content creators, people like DL Hughley, some of these guys that supporting a lot of left ideas and not understanding is like, look, man, we get that people are struggling. We get that we've been in the struggle, but our struggle is not our struggle completely isn't aligned with other struggle. We can't have unity with anybody else because we really don't have unity within our own community.
Right.
So we have to fix that. We have so many things to be working on. So we just can't. I mean, we've already been exploited. Our struggle has been exploited and passed around, and we're just looking at ourselves now like, okay, what are we doing wrong? What could we be doing better? So definitely the family. I put this up the other day. I did a live. It was on maybe a couple days ago. Now I talk about this every time I get on here, but
Hmm.
I mean, 31% marriage rate is low. I mean, out of
Hmm.
wedlock birth rates high. Abortion rates were actually very, very, very high. So even when you look, I mean, being oppressed and also your procreation being tampered with as well and being oppressed. I mean, just look at that. That's ridiculous. And you've let other groups of people in and treated and told them that they could get some amenities of being whiteness when you will plan to oppress them too. Just to be honest, you know what
Hmm.
I
Hmm. And also too, like, and I want to say I've said this too before. I think that white culture has done its part. I feel like at this particular where we are right now, white culture has given us the tools so we can oppress ourselves, and that's what we're doing. We are oppressing ourselves, but it's easier to blame someone else. I don't feel like things are so crippled in America to where we can't come together and create these family units to become strong, because how do you have strong communities? You have strong communities but because of strong families. We don't have strong black communities because we don't have strong black families. And it just has to get to a point to where that has to be the forefront, and people have to be willing to know who they are, know where they what they want, find someone that they can work with, someone that is marriage material, stick with one person and grow. And then what happens after that? Well, then you start having children, and then your children see how you're making it work. So that's social programming within itself. What do? They have children, and yeah, you may have, it's not going to always be perfect. You may have some marriages that didn't work, or you may have some situations where some people in the family unit may not be working together. Well, guess what? We're gonna have to work outside of that, and the family unit still must continue to go on. And I think once that's solidified, the black community will become even stronger. Just knowing how much we can accomplish more in society, even dealing with racism, if we swept around our own doorsteps first, and we are failing to do that. At some point, I do agree with Rob. At some point, this is what I don't think. I think that we need to connect the lineage with slavery, but that doesn't need to be arcane. We don't need to. That doesn't always have to be used as something that's crippling. It should be something that's empowering, because this is where we've come from, and now we can see how we can work together to rise above adversity um through the unification of family. And once that happens, everything won't be a threat. Gentrification wouldn't be a threat. Certain things wouldn't be a threat if we were strong, we had stronger communities. But because our community is weak, because we've been given the tools to oppress ourselves, then it's like we are at this particular point, I feel like causing our own demise within ourselves. Like we are our own poison at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and slavery is a part of the history. It's not who you are. You're not
Right.
a slave. You're a human.
Mm-hmm.
I think that um us fighting to be recognized as such is very important in humanity's history. To enslave somebody and say they're not even a man, the women
Mm-hmm.
we were able to, and it wasn't always peaceful. There's parts of that that isn't told, as far as like the rebellion, the slave rebellions. You know, it comes with a level of violence. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to get free in totality, but I don't think it's something we should totally just run from. I think in the past we've replaced it with, we were kings and queens and things that we really can't attach ourselves to because we don't know. And it's like
Right.
because we don't know, and it's a lot of assumption that, the black pride that we've experienced in this country came through the culture we created, the pop culture,
Mm-hmm.
style, the afro, the platforms, before that, the music, the jazz, whatever we've created that's representative of our creativity, who we are as a people. We found ways through stories, movies, whatever the case may be, entertainment, which is something that's heavily exploited from us. Is entertainment, how well we entertain, but our ability to storytell, even when we talk about spirituality, evangelism. I mean, that the preaching style is a the American black preacher. So there are a lot of things that we have done in this country that we can be proud of, which is why we talk about it. I mean, just look at like all the inventions and things that we've done. We have,
Oh my God, I was just about to say that. We are inventors. That's who we are as a black culture. We are inventors. And it's just sad that we didn't have the literacy nor the finances to patent really anything. Which is why, see, and again, even with that, which is why it is so important for us to realize we are Americans. It's hard for us to show it because of where we were at that time, and things that we weren't afforded to, but we have a lot of state to be where we are right now. And I'm glad you said that, because in my mind I was thinking as you was talking, I was like, yeah, and we've invented a lot. We've invented a lot of things that have that we use just common in the house, outside house, street lights, and different medical tools. Like, we've done it all. We don't get recognized for that because, again, we really didn't have a direct hand in writing our history. We were living it out. We weren't the ones writing it, which is why we cannot get distorted from that, and we have to always make sure that we understand that this is our past, and we can use our past to move forward into the future. So we gotta recognize that.
yeah, and so that's why I don't take the many blacks saying that they're sitting out from protest as an issue, because this is a great time for black people to identify themselves. Like, who are you? Set that identification, and then we can say, okay, this is what we need to be doing, and then we can work with other groups. See,
Mm-hmm.
we can work with other groups. Listen, I've said this here. If y'all go back and look, I got some shit on this channel that if you just go back and look, I said it already. I've already spoke on brown and black unity and why I think it's important politically. I've already said why I think it's important, but it's not going to be beneficial to them if we don't identify who black people are and how we want to rock, because
Mm-hmm.
they don't understand what we've dealt with as black people is we've dealt with sellouts. We've dealt with sellouts. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so in order for us to really identify ourselves, the reason why this is a good time, because all black people of like all political affiliations, no matter what they believe, are saying, "Hey, well, we don't rock with that," and we're catching flack. That's good, because again, we get to see who's who. Then once we figure that out and we've okay, this is how we're gonna move, then we can work with, because we're not the oppressors here. We're not oppressor. We don't have any ability or oppressive powers to go say, "Hey, Asian people, you can't be here." Because if we did, maybe we would have did what the white man did said and been like, "Hey, we don't necessarily like this. We don't want you taking over our community." But I say like it's likely it's not, because black people typically aren't like that. We're very welcoming. We want everybody, come on
Mm-hmm.
in, come on over here. We're welcoming like that. So we don't have we don't have the oppressive powers to do what's happening.
Yeah.
But again, like I said again, this is not it's not a racial issue to me. This is a geopolitical issue. I mean, now look, like I said again, I mean, we got Iran and Israel at it right now. Like they're in a hot war right now.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning bombs is dropping. So I don't know how this is gonna go down. I don't know what this is gonna look like. But hey man, we've been rocking for a little bit. I'm glad that we back on StreamYard so we can have some, cool amenities that we didn't have with the other software. We
Mm-hmm.
are getting into a series.
Yes, I'm excited.
We're getting into a series. The thing about this series, I have to say, it's been a collective effort. It is not just me. Miss T, involvement as far as talking, dialoguing, whatever the case may be, throwing, having input, even to Grizzly, even to Rob J. The conversations I've had with everybody out here, people that have come to clips, people that have come on lives, whatever the case may be, we actually have a community forming here, to be honest. Like people that moderators, they've been good at the beginning part of the week, but Fridays, I don't know. I gotta get y'all to come over here. I'm gonna say
Mm-hmm.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8:30 p.m. live. We're here YouTube, and we sometimes go to Facebook as well. But we're getting into a series about marriage, family, foundate the conventional family, and we're gonna start there. I think this is a great time for us to understand why we need to start there because that's the place we need to fix in order to get our community moving in a good, positive direction so we can make an impact financially, politically. We got to
Mm-hmm.
talk about the family. And I'm gonna go ahead and to give y'all a snippet on the case study is the Cosby Show. We're gonna use Bill Cosby. I know some of y'all like, oh, Bill Cosby, the rapist. Nah, nah. We're gonna get into the the creator, the writer, the Dr. Bill Cosby. What I think was really important about his show and why it was helpful and why we need to go back and look at that show as reference points. And now that as a 40-year-old man, I can say, hey, a lot of that makes sense. I can show you why it makes sense. But we got to go back to the family. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say this too, black women. Look around at all the black men who are agreeing with you. They're agreeing with you sitting out. It's not all weak, coward men. It's not beta. It's not beta orbiters. These are men that's standing on their 10 and saying, hey, this is what we want to do. So you need to take a look around at that. I think the gender war is going to wave a white flag right now because we collectively see who we are as a people and we need to get into this series. So it's going to be, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
this could go on for some weeks. And every Friday, so we may include some current news or whatever, but I think now is the time that we do spend the next several weeks getting into this. 2 hours. It might take 2, 3 hours. That's another thing I was saying too. These are not topics you can get through in 2 hours, 3 hours.
No, these are going to be different segments and different series to be able to in order for you to this is what we would consider in the classroom as explicit instruction. And explicit instruction is you you know what the students are going to learn, and so the question is, what do I have to do to make it comprehensible for them to understand it in part so they can get the bigger picture? And that's what this is. And then not only Bill Cosby, didn't he have a hand in A Different World too, or no?
Yeah, a different world was his creation. That's the spinoff. Kids
Right.
going.
And see, that's important too, because not only did he generate the Cosby Show for the Black family, he did A Different World to show you the importance of getting your education.
Yeah, because Hillman, that was the college that they had went to.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct. So I think both of those sitcoms would work very, very well. And the college portion would be the extension. You know, it may be too late for some individuals, depending on how old they are. But as far as your offspring is concerned, that is going to be a sure way to where we can also rise above. And I know the argument is going to be where everybody doesn't have to go to college to be successful. Yeah, I get that and totally understand that. But college gives you is more than just going to get a degree. Like college gives you networking skills. College allows you to deeper your knowledge and understanding about different concepts, and it helps you in a real world setting. So I think both of those series are going to work. I mean, I'm sorry, both of those television shows are going to work very, very well. And I think by the end of it all, um, it should bring light to how uh, enlightening or detrimental social programming can be to the Black community at the end of it all, because that's basically what this is this is social programming, social programming slash social conditioning. To be honest with you, if you this might be like a Rob J point, but the social conditioning and the social programming are like the new Jim Crow. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like I said once before, Western civilization has given us the tools to oppress ourselves. We have to swim through that and be very intentional and divisive as far as how we're going to execute who we are as a people.
Now,
And
I don't want to cut you off because while I got you here, it might be a good time to talk about the Tyler Perry film. Everybody's been talking about that because when you talk about oppressive programming,
mhm,
um, I haven't seen it. I'm gonna watch it so I can see what everybody's been talking about. But if it's a Tyler Perry film, then we pretty much know it's a black woman struggling. Uh, Everybody's doing her wrong, and she gonna figure it out with Jesus' help. We ain't saying Jesus. We love Jesus right here. We're just trying to give y'all the profile. And then there you go. But I hadn't seen it yet. But I do think Tyler Perry exploits uh, oppressive programming.
absolutely. I agree. And that was one of the things that I said. I feel like he is the Puff Daddy of film, and you have your own studio. You have you produce your own movies, you direct your own movies, you cast your own movies. So you are very influential in what we see as Black people. And I got a lot of pushback, because people were like, "Oh, well, you didn't grow up in the hood," or "Oh, you just don't understand." No, I do understand. But if the idea is all centered around mental health, why does it have to be a single Black struggling female? You see, it's the same storyline. Now, one thing I will give Tyler Perry credit to, he knows how to pull on emotional heartstrings. He knows how to do that very well, to where you almost find yourself living in a world that you don't even identify with. Because I don't identify with nothing that that woman went through. Not saying that mental health, not saying that mental health is isn't prevalent the way that it is. It's just that that's not my story. Now, can I sympathize for someone like that? Yes, but the empathy is a shared emotion. I don't have a shared emotion like that. I don't have a shared emotion of growing up in a single parent household. I don't have a shared emotion of my parents struggling. I don't have a shared emotion of dysfunction. I don't have a shared emotion. I don't have any of that. And I feel like when he continues to create movies with that same storyline, it's indicative of our culture, and that's not it. Every Black person isn't coming from a struggling situation. Now, again, as Black people, do we have hard times in America? Yes, we do. So I'm not saying that his movie should portray us as being rich and famous. No, I'm not saying that, but it needs to be more in line with of the collective. And I just don't think the collective represents the storyline that he tells 90% of the time. And I don't like that. And for you to be so influential, and for you to not show any type of rising above adversity in your films, is diabolical to me. And people flock to him as if he's uh, I- some great superstar writer. And I'm not, again, I'm not saying that he isn't good because he is influential. And that's one thing about being a writer. You have to, especially when you're doing it for film, you have to be influential. Like people have to want to watch your movies. But it's the storylines; they're all the same. And I think is that Courtney? I think Courtney put up a post about divorced sisters. What is that about? Like, see, here we go again, and it's like, well, why are we glorifying that? Like, I don't like any of it. I do not like any of it
Well,
at
I,
all.
go ahead, Courtney.
I think I think I think what he's doing and a lot of things that we see that posted on the line for black people, specifically black women, it's like it's creating victims almost. It's like
Right.
people be like, I felt that, and I'm like, nah, you didn't feel that. You've never met anybody in your life that
Right. Right.
has went through that. You don't know anybody like that, bro. You don't know anybody like that. Nobody has called you and said this happened. It's just, and then for the passion for the victimhood. Oh, you don't understand. I heard somebody tell me, well, as a black woman, I'm like, God, do you think that you're the only person that's dealing with anything, any hardships in life and issues as a black woman? Like, I sympathize as a black man and black, but come on, bro. I've been through a lot of shit, bro. I'm not always looking for somebody to validate the trauma in my life. You feel what I'm saying? I don't
Right.
need Drew to write a song bad and me be like, I felt that. It's like the want and need to always attract pain and trauma. It's telling, bro. It's really telling. It's really telling that want and need to always attract. I don't know if y'all can hear me. I see y'all went out.
Uh-huh. I can hear you.
Can
Yeah, I
y'all
can
hear
hear you.
me?
Go ahead. Yeah, I can hear
Oh,
you.
Uh-huh.
okay. Yeah, my bad. I just walked into the terminal, but that want and need to always be validated with pain, and you don't understand because this is not what you went through. I went through this. I'm like, dog, what about a fictional story makes you emotional to the point where you're on the internet arguing with people who saying they don't think it was a good movie, bro? We're cooked. That's like the lack of emotional intelligence. And I'm arguing with people like, bro, what are we talking about? This is a fictional story that with so many plot holes and exaggerated trauma, and you feel this? How? How, bro?
And she
How?
still
It just goes to
ended
show
the
you.
movie as a criminal. She still ended the movie as a criminal.
Hey, Miss T, you know the most amazing thing about it? I was telling you earlier, I said, I was mad at the lady that was in the bank teller lady, because she was like, don't trust her and I want to get out of here. I was like, bro, she's being robbed. Y'all that in tune to this shit that y'all mad at the one getting robbed? What are we talking about, bro? What are we talking about? Man, we cooked.
Right.
Well, like
Hold
I
on
think,
1 second. Let me.
I think another thing is that hold on, I'm gonna mute. I think one of the let me let me Courtney. I can't mute him.
Guess not.
Hold on, I'm just gonna remove him just for a second so I can get this point out. But I'm gonna bring him back. But uh, I think also too. I think what it really is that um, it's also a reflection of the experiences we've had, or what has seemingly been portrayed to us the entire time. You know, that's that oppressive programming. Like I say, when we think about it, um, we look at the black struggle, so to speak. The black single mother, she has to hold it down. When you put it in writing, what happens is when you put it in writing, it's like it becomes you exploit it. It's like anything in the movie. You gotta make it, you gotta superimpose the image. You gotta make it worse than what it is. It's just like the black guy, you know, in Jason, go back to Friday the 13th, you know what I'm saying? Or Jason, it was like I forgot which number it was, one of them late 80s movie. The black dude in there like, yeah, sucker, yeah, man, what you talking about, brother? It's like they have to give us these it's a caricature too. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes us as black people, we'll take advantage of that, even in rap. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, this is for the hoes, and this is for the. We have a certain image that is constantly portrayed about us, and and I think this is why Sinners got a lot of praise, or Ryan Coogler gets praise, is because he's presenting cinema, black cinema, different from that. He's giving other, even though the argument can be, I haven't seen Sinners either, by the way. I haven't been motivated to go see any of this programming, but
Sinners
you
was
know,
pretty good. I saw it. I liked it.
it's a vampire movie essentially, from what I've gathered at this point. So we want to see other storylines. Black people are saying that we would like to see other story. And look, I think a movie like Sinners is saying that. Like, yeah, Tyler Perry, that's great. You have a fan base, you have a niche group that likes this, but the collective of black people are yearning for other story types, other stories that we could be in, and we've shown that we can do that because the black experience is changing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what it is. So, but man, we gonna wrap this live up, man. We've been rocking a long time. We gonna be back Monday 8:30. Well, we're on YouTube Monday, Wednesday 8:30 live, but I'm gonna go ahead and get over to Facebook again. I'm trying to fix it to where it'll go public. For some reason, the live only goes to like my friends list, so it's real strange. But hey man, it's been a great Charm Hour. Monday. When are we gonna start the series? Next Friday?
Yeah, I think we need to start it next Friday.
We're gonna start next Friday. We're gonna
Is
get on.
is there any way to where because I went and I did like an outline of just a prescript of the of I think it was one of the things that you asked me earlier, and it was what should women be when we talk about women not being satisfied. And remember, I want to say I did a voice note, and I was like, I feel like there are two sides. Like a woman's soul can be satisfied, or her lustful desires can be satisfied, but it sometimes in finding a good mate, it may not be both. So
Can't be.
based, huh?
It can't be both.
No, it cannot be both. So if you want your soul satisfied, your lustful desires are gonna have to be relinquished. And if you want your lustful desires to be heightened, then your soul is not gonna be, because it's not gonna be satisfied. So based on that, I did like this little breakdown or whatever. And so is there any way on here to where, for instance, when we talk about a point, we can bring up the
Yeah,
clip.
we can do slides and everything. We can do a whole presentation.
Oh, okay, perfect. That's all you needed to tell me.
We're gonna do
So
a whole.
I'll start preparing that first section. Then when we talk about why women, huh?
No, I didn't say anything.
What'd you say?
I didn't say anything.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Oh my God, he might be stuck.
No, I'm not. No.
Um, well, I don't know if Andy's stuck or not, but please stay tuned next Friday to talk about this marriage series. It's going to be in segments. I feel like it is worth the watch. You need to watch it. Even if you don't agree at first, just listen. Just allow it to permeate, and then go back and reflect. And I think we don't do that as Black people. We hear a point and we ready to argue instead of allowing it to permeate so we can truly understand the message. And I feel like once we can come together to be able to understand the series like that, towards it, if not at the end, towards the end, we should have a better understanding of the importance of the Black family unit and marriage essentially. So I'm excited about that. So since I know we can do that on here, I'll begin to gather those clips, because we remember I told you we have to have some level of parenthetical citation to go with the delivery of the message. So I'll get to working on that. But yeah, next Friday
Parenthetical.
sounds awesome.
That what you said? And parenthetical citation?
Yes.
Hey, y'all gonna fuck around better get a certification over here. All right, yeah. Hey, we out. Peace.
Oh, charm guy.